Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today I need to make a journal because after junk journaling for many years, one thing I have never done or what I've always wanted to have a go at is doing a travelling junk journal. And in another junk journaling group that I'm in, they have organised for a group of us to be part of this fun arrangement. I think there's 4 different groups doing it, and what we have to do is we have to make a journal, 24 pages. We send it to the next person on the list. They do some decorating of it. They send it to the next person and so forth. And by about mid-October, your journal will come back to you and it will have all sorts of fun deco in it. There are no rules about what deco you have to do. It's completely up to you. Some people, I think, are going to try and do a journal with a specific theme. For example, I do remember seeing someone mentioning Christmas, but I have decided I want mine to be neutral in that I want people to work in this journal with whatever they love the most. When you're doing something you're passionate about, then that's when you have the most fun. So we need to make a journal, a very, very simple one. This doesn't have to be fancy or flash, but my favourite way to make a journal, of course, is to use a masterboard. Now, this masterboard was simply made with a variety of cut up book pages, music pages, a little bit of map, you name it, it's on here. And you'll notice that when I made this one, I used all the pieces were cut. There was no tearing in this one. So I have a playlist called Junk Journal Scrapbook. And in that playlist is a heap of different ideas of how you can make masterboards. So especially on a rainy day, you've got some scraps. When you make masterboards, you then have the chance to put together a journal really quickly. So there's a playlist for how I did this, but it's very straightforward. It's cutting and gluing. But have a look, my base is already done. But the one thing with this, when I made this masterboard, the majority of my papers run down this way. Now, for a cover, I actually wanted them this way, but not all of the pieces are done like that. There are some facing the right way, and it actually doesn't matter that most of them are facing vertically instead of horizontally, because by the time we've finished, you probably won't even notice, and it's actually not a problem. But when I made this masterboard, my idea was to cut this into 3 strips and then create tags and journaling cards and things like that. Why I didn't do it this way, I will never know. But as I said, it really doesn't matter. All I need to know is that I want to turn this into a masterboard now, into a cover, and I have to decide which way. Would I prefer this half to be my front cover or this half to be my front cover? Decisions. I'm actually thinking now I might go with this way because I've got this piece which is quite central that is the correct way up. I've got this one which is upside down but the correct way. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. But it doesn't actually matter. It'll be fine the way it is. But what I did do, just to help the eye not pick up that everything's running the other direction, I grabbed a couple of little scraps that are of the same thing, like music and a bit of dictionary and a little piece of book page, and I have done my edges. These will stand out a little bit because the edges have been inked, and what I'm going to do is just glue these down, plus I've also got a few other bits of ephemera here that I want to add to it because I don't want my journal to have a specific theme. I want it to have quite an eclectic sort of feel. I don't want people to think they have to do vintage, they have to do this, they have to do that. So I've got a few bits and pieces. So why don't we start by gluing all of these down, and then we will continue on. So for example, we've got this little piece here. Now, I've got that one there that's the correct way, so we don't need to fight that one. Let's leave that there. We're going to pop this down here. So now already you've got the two bits that are the correct way. But honestly, I don't think it matters. It's just me being pedantic. Then we've got some music. I might put this one somewhere here, because I do want to have a few little things on the back as well. Everything doesn't have to be on the front. And I'll grab my last little piece here. And we might put that, might cross over down here. There we go. Then the next thing I have, this is a tiny little scrap of a napkin, which of course has been shredded so that, and actually, sorry, this is not napkin. I've just realized this is a little piece of tissue paper. So what I have to do is just very gently add my glue here, because of course tissue paper is quite delicate. And it has a straight edge, so I'm thinking that maybe we want to put that up over here. And then just gently prising it into place. If I end up with a tiny little air bubble or two, not stressed about that either, but that seems to have gone down very nicely. Then another thing I definitely want at the front, this is an older Australian stamp. I can guarantee you we have not been able to send a letter for 33 cents. I think they're $1.50 now or something like that. And because this is an Aussie group swapping, I want my lovely little fishy to be somewhere on the front, and I'm thinking we may pop that right there. Now, of course, I love coffee, so how could I not add something coffee related to my cover? So I've got this cute little coffee. We might just sort of pop that in there like that. Let's see. I don't think I'll use that one. I'm going to let that one go. Actually, I've just realised I don't really have enough things. Maybe we won't put any on the back. I think by the time I'm done here, I think all of these will go on the front. So maybe we shan't worry about adding deco to the back. I might change my mind later though. Now that's happened before. There we go. Now I've got this cute little, this is a little scrap of magazine page that's had like the full grunge effect. There's some cute little metallic bits on there, maybe a little bit hard to pick up on the camera, but I just want to add this in somewhere, maybe there. I've also got, this is just a tiny little cutout, little bit of lined paper. I thought that would be good too, just for something fun. Like you can use any scraps you want. Obviously, if you want to keep them all to an actual theme, well, by all means, feel free to do so. I've got another cute little grungy bit here that has some copper instead of gold. So I think we will add that as well. Where shall we put this? No, maybe down here. Yep. And I also have this cute little butterfly. I think we'll just pop that up there. This is just a little stamping done on some paper that I dyed with food colouring. I have a video somewhere on that. How about we put that up in that blank spot? Okay. Well, I thought I had all these bits, and have a look. They've just all been devoured, but that's fine. So now all I have to do is we've got to fold this over. I might just do it gently this way just so I can try lining these up as best as I can. And then gently, whoops, now this, because this is quite thick, my backing paper is quite thick, so I've got to be just gently trying to nudge this into place and keeping it in line. Okay, that's pretty good. It's not 100% perfect, but then I think when I've cut my edge, it wasn't perfect. So we're going to gently give this a bit of a score to get a good crease. And then can you see I have a little bit of work to do here where this has lifted, because of course my join was right on the bend, but that's okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to add a little bit of glue here, and then we're going to try and, don't really have a lot to maneuver with here. It's literally only just, there we go, hang on a minute. Gently prise that down. We'll just get rid of that little bit that's hanging over there. There we go. And then we've got a tiny little bit here that's split. Okay. And I think what we'll have to do is we're going to have to get the big guns out here. I'm going to use a stronger glue than just this one, because this little bit is under pressure. There we go. So we'll just roll that over and hold this in place just for a moment. This can happen with masterboards, but guess what? You just have to wield a little bit of glue and all is well. How are we down there? I'll check this again once I have sewn the signature in, just in case, because I have a feeling I might push right through that zone. So if need be, we can just give it a gentle tap back down in case I lift it when I force the needle through. So the next thing, I've decided I'm not going to worry about any form of closure at this stage. I have no idea how big or bulky this is going to end up, so I think it's better if I leave that. So now we need some pages. So recommendation was to make it 24 pages, meaning 24 surfaces, and that way each person that has the journal can decorate up to 4 pages. If they don't want to do that many, that's fine, but if they want to and they have the time, because we've got about a 2-week turnaround, they can do so. So I have gone for the most basic of pages. My first one is part of a book. Thankfully, this was an elongated book. I have this thing about pages that end up where you fold it over and then it ends up the wrong way around. I like all mine to be up the right way. So that's my first page, nice bit of botanical. Then very simply, this page here is just a piece of packaging paper. Always makes a great page. And when I'm doing something like this, I like to have different colours. I don't want them all the same. So I've got a giant music page. This was a huge one. Even has some rust in there. That's not a problem where the staple must have rusted. And so I've just chopped that up so that it will fit. That was a really big music book, that one. So we've got that one. Then the next thing I've got here, this is a piece of gift wrap. This actually came in a magazine. Sometimes they have them as giveaways. It was folded up and it fitted inside the magazine. And I thought a splash of colour would be good. The other thing I liked, it's white on the inside. So someone might like to work on some white and not necessarily on these vintage colours. So I'm going to stick that one in next. Then I was gifted some interesting items from a journaling friend of mine whose stash was horrifically big, apparently. This is an interesting piece of map page. I think it's actually Texas or something. And it's got all these interesting markings, obviously areas like TFB and stuff like that. I thought that was a really fun and interesting page, definitely something different, not your traditional map page. And I just like that it's sort of black and white. That will be a fun one to work on. So we pop that one in next. And then lucky last, in the centre, I'm going to have, this is paper bag. So we've got all sorts of different colours. This can, of course, then also become a pocket for somebody if they'd like to do that. It's completely up to them what they do. And that's the whole idea of this. So, again, I've gone for pretty general, eclectic sort of pages so that people can do with it whatever they like. And I am going to include a note in mine. I might actually even attach it to the inside here just to let people know that they can use whichever colours they like, whichever styles. If they like doing more modern things, that's fine. I don't care what we do. I just want people to have fun, and I want to see people's favourite things because I always find that fascinating. So now we, of course, need to attach our pages into the journal. So what I need to do, and I've just realised I've only got one when oh no, I've got two here. This is it. So once you have decided on your pages, the one thing I strongly suggest you do is have your journal sitting in front of you. Make sure the cover is facing the correct way so that when you then open it, you can check with a quick flip that your writing is the correct way up. It's not life or death if it's upside down, but that sort of thing annoys me. So I'm flipping through. I know this one is the correct way. Don't have to worry about that one. I know this is the correct way. Again, don't have to worry about this one, but I know on the other side the flowers and that do go in a certain direction. Again, this one would definitely not really matter. The map can be any way, but seeing these have all these letters on it, I just prefer it to be the correct way up. And of course, who cares about the paper bag? It has nothing printed on it. So once we have lined everything up, and make sure you are happy with the location of your pages. If I had a couple of smaller ones, sometimes I like to put small ones down, say for example here, and then they can become a little pocket or something. But in this case, I've gone for the larger surface area, and then all I do is I add a clip to both sides to hold everything in place. And I always give, before I put the last clip in, I give it a good shove right down into the center, and then I add another clip. And now we're going to sew it in very, very simply. We're not doing anything too fancy with this one. Now, because this is a single signature thing, we don't need to make fancy templates. So all I use is a ruler. Now, this piece turns out to be just shy of 21. So I need to go probably 10 and a half is a full. I need to go. Actually, hang on. Have I got it right there? I better check that first. Okay, so half is 10. I really need to go about 10.4 to get my center. And then for the others, just to make life easy, I'm just going to move this to a full centimetre mark, and then I'm going to just roughly work out where I want the next ones. And I'm thinking if I go here and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, they're done. And that's where I want my holes. So that's very simple. I will probably rub these out once I've popped them in. And then I'm going to get my pokey tool, and I'm going to keep this bent over to try and make sure that we poke this through the holes and the cover and keep it together as possible. But it's just simply poking a hole through. And I'm quite happy to make a generous size hole once it's all done, the hole tends to disappear. So don't stress about making a bigger hole, but the bigger the hole, the easier it is to work with. You need approximately 3 lengths, give or take. It depends if you want to have dangles down the bottom. You have to probably make that decision before you fully decide. But again, I rather use a little bit more than not enough. And so there's my needle. I use a needle with a relatively large eye because I've got to get this cotton through here. So this is DMC. I always use DMC because I have tons of it in every colour known to man. I've got a very full collection. And when you use a large eye, it is so easy to thread all 6 strands through. Again, I like to use 6 strands. It gives you strength. So then the very first thing we do is we pop this through the first hole. See, because I've got a large hole, how easy it is to manoeuvre. Then I'm going to spin this around and I'm going to hold this up here out of the way while I turn this over, and I'm going to feed this through, and see how easily it comes through because I've used a nice large hole. I promise you it's worth it. Then we cross over and we go all the way up to the top and through we go. Then the next thing I do, I grab this thread. I want it out of the way. What I want to try and avoid, even though it doesn't always work, is splitting my 6 strands. If I do, it's not life or death, but I try and avoid it. So by holding this up here, I'm getting it out of the way. And then when I pop this through this hole, I just sort of try and go ever so slightly on a little bit of an angle that way, if you get what I mean. And voila. Guess what? We are done. That's how easy this is. Then the next thing you do, if you want dangles, you might like to adjust these. You can pull them in and out as much as you like, as long as you do it before you knot it. I don't think I'm going to worry about dangles on this because of this style of journal where all these different people are playing with it. I don't think I need dangles, but if you do, just get them both so that they're long enough that you can tie something on that will hang down the bottom. But I don't think that's what we need. Then I put one on one side of my main thread, one on the other, and voila. All I do is now tie this up and my simple journal is made. Of course, this is exactly how you would make multiple signatures if you were doing such a thing. But this is not that. This is a simple journal, and I think I'm just going to cut these off. I may bow them. Oh, why not? Let's put a little bow in. Doesn't matter whether you do or not. Obviously, you wouldn't bow it if you're going to be adding dangles. That didn't quite work. I made my little bow bits a bit too big. Let's rein that in a little bit. And voila, we have made our journal. So things don't get a lot easier than that. Clips are gone. It's all done now. How did I go? Oh, no, look, it's fine. That all is sitting exactly where I need it to be. Oh, no, it's not. Look, hang on, I can see it on this side. So actually, there's another little bit that's not quite down far enough. So I had a feeling this might happen. So just a tiny bit more. Use a nice strong glue to put down any little bits that are sticking up on the spine. But just like that, my journal is ready to go. Now, some people are going to add pages of decoration. I don't think I will. I think I might do something on the cover, but I haven't decided what. But for now, we're going to leave it like this. And as you can see, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 12, gives me 24 pages, but I only actually needed 6 sheets of paper. So there we go. A very easy journal. Going to head out around the countryside. I already have the addresses of my swap partners, and they, what have we got? I've got Victoria, Queensland, oh my gosh, I have got Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, and New South Wales again. So this is, other than Western Australia, unfortunately, we don't have one of those, or Northern Territory, but this is going to do a lovely little trip around the country, and voila. I will do some pages with you when I receive the other journals, and it's time to do some decorating. And then, of course, there will be a very fun flip through when I get my journal back at the very end. So, hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Leave them in the comments box below. Or if you have ever done one of these journal swappy thingies, can you let me know how it went and any clever ideas or things I should include in it so that it all sort of works out nicely for us all? And of course, if you could give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. So until next time, bye for now.